Miss Manic 10-8, just wanted to talk to you about a few of the patients I had tonight. First was a 52-year-old female who presented with rectal bleeding and abdominal pain. She was quickly moved to another department, so we didn't have time to get second round of vital signs on her. Couldn't follow up on her. She was out of our computer system. Second patient, an 81-year-old male with shortness of breath, night sweats, and weakness for the past 6 days. He was the friendliest man I've ever met.
You being sarcastic, or was he?
No, he was. He didn't want to. His son had to tell him, "Dad, she has other patients," for him to stop talking. Even then, as I was opening the curtain to leave the room, he kept talking. And I didn't mind, it was good conversation, but I did have other places to be. My third patient was a 28-year-old male who presented with left upper quadrant abdominal pain that started 3 days ago. He also reported nausea, vomiting, and diarrhea. He was also quickly moved to another department, so I couldn't follow up on his second round of vitals.
So is it 2 vitals that you take for each patient?
Mm-hmm. For patient care reports, I have to do 2 vitals, but the monitor that they're on, it automatically sends vital signs to the nurse's computer, but I was supposed to go and take them myself every, 15 minutes or so. Once when they're about to be discharged and once when they get in, which many times is about 10-15 minutes. My fourth patient was a 37-year-old male found unresponsive in the bathroom. This is actually my last patient. I just wrote these out of order. 37-year-old male found unresponsive in bathroom by ex-wife, history of drug abuse, specifically PCP. EMS gave him 0.4 milligrams of Narcan with no relief.
And what's Narcan?
Narcan's a nasal spray that EMS uses for narcotic overdoses.
Universal for all narcotics?
Yes.
And I remember my time out on the streets, and PCP guys would be found naked, running around, doing crazy things. So the patient that came into the hospital, fully clothed, naked, what?
He was fully clothed. We had to take his clothes off. We gave his pants to police. They went through the pockets. We had to insert a catheter, so he was completely naked when we were done with him.
And when you say insert a catheter, for what purpose is that?
We had to get urine to run tests.
Okay. And how was the response when the catheter is inserted?
He was, the entire time when we were inserting needles in him, trying to get blood from him, he was fine. He flinched a little bit, made some noises. Then we put it in the catheter, and he sprang up. He looked like he was about to do some serious damage to us. It was hard to calm him down after that catheter was in.
And what's the number one thing that we have tried to roll into your head about scene safety, right?
Well, we knew it was going to happen. We were ready for it to happen. Police were right outside the curtain. They would have heard us if something bad happened. Yeah. The fifth patient, this is the other interesting one. He arrived by EMS. He was witnessed riding a bike with no handle and fell off. It was an 81-year-old male. He also did not speak English, so he spoke very, very little English. The one sentence that he knew was, "I'm not crazy." That's the extent of his English. We had the interpreter come in. I wasn't there.
Is there an interpreter in the ER at all times?
I don't know where they got the interpreter from. We called for him, and they got there about 15 minutes later.
That's neat.
Yeah. So he came with his computer and everything. He wasn't alert. He was more verbal, and he didn't know his family. He didn't answer when we asked him who he lived with. So he was in the ER the entire time I was there. So from 3 to 7 he was there, and his family never came. He never told us who the family was, and I don't think they ever got his ID. So he fell off his bike, and he was completely drunk. He needs to stay in the emergency department until clinical soberness.
And how do you define that?
I guess it's when he becomes alert. He was nowhere close to it when I left.
And that was because of the alcohol consumption?
Yeah. He had no other injuries.
And so the alcohol probably saved him.
Yeah. Yeah, once that alcohol wears off, he's probably going to be complaining of some pain. That did save him. And that was all the patients worth writing about. Most of them were just like, I feel a little sick. I'm a little bit dizzy. Yeah, that was where all the...
So a total of how many patients did you take?
I write about?
Yeah.
I wrote about 5.
Okay. And is there a set number that you need to see?
I need to see, I think it was 10, and I have 3 more 4-hour rotations and a 12-hour shift at the Sterling Volunteer Rescue Squad to get those 5 more patients.
Why are the rescue squad shifts 8 hours and the hospital shifts?
Rescue shifts are 12 hours.
Sorry, why are the rescue shifts 12 and the hospital 4? Is that just by the nature of the beast?
Yes.
So your overall experience today?
It was good for my first day. It wasn't too crazy. I think next time I go into the hospital, I want it to be a little bit more eventful, because now I know how everything runs. I know my place in the department, what I'm expected to do, the protocols for everything.
Now, is the clinical training that you guys are being given in the Career Center, in its joint program with NOVA, is that preparing you for the using of the equipment and everything found in the hospital setting?
In the hospital, no. The stuff we use in the EMT class, the equipment that we use, those are found on ambulances. Like BP cuffs and stethoscopes. I didn't see a single person using one today. I definitely didn't. For the BP, we just hooked them up to the monitor, and it gave us all the readings. On the ambulance, for most of the ambulances, you take it manually. You put that stethoscope on the brachial artery, and you find the BP that way.
And what about just the observations that were made of you by the nurse that was in charge of you?
So she actually wrote them down.
So is there a set criteria that she's looking for?
Yeah, there is. There's 6 things that she's looking for. It's punctuality, appearance, participation, communication, professional conduct, and student effect.
Okay, so most of that is self-explanatory. What's student effect?
Student effect is, well, for me, it goes from was motivated, enthusiastic, seemed glad to be there, and welcomed the learning opportunity. That's what she marked me as. The lowest thing she could have said was did not appear to have any interest at all in being here, and couldn't wait to leave.
Those are kind of polar opposites.
Yeah.
Okay, so your overall experience in your very first clinical rotation, what do you say?
It was great. I was nervous for maybe the first 5 minutes, but I adjusted pretty quick. Yeah.
And what about timing?
What do you mean, in getting there early?
Yeah.
You need to get there 15 to 30 minutes early at least, because your shift doesn't necessarily start until you are with your nurse following them around. And it took me a while to get with my nurse because in the emergency department, everything's running so fast. I went to the charge nurse and asked her to assign me, and she got busy, completely forgot that I was there. Came back because someone reminded her there's a girl at her desk. So yeah, it's crazy in there. So it's gonna take you some time to start your shift.
So get